Are you ready to learn? Because my super experienced guests are ready to share some really valuable information. Make sure and listen all the way to the end to get help and support. So let's start with the best audio experience.
Hello guys, welcome to our show. Today we discuss about AI, artificial intelligence, because this topic is hot. It's a daily tool we need to consider, we need to adapt because AI won't replace human being who adapt today, who can learn how to use it, how to save time, how to use all features from this tool. And I'm so excited to discuss this topic with Leonard Apeltsin. How are you?
I'm well, Anatoly. I'm real well.
Yeah, nice to see you again. I remember you shared a lot of valuable insights in the first episode, so I'm looking forward to learn more. Leonard, remind about yourself, about your experience, background, and why you pay so much attention to AI.
Yeah, so, of course, currently I'm at the head of data science at a medical healthcare startup where we heavily leverage information in medical records and medical texts. Prior to that, I was on a founding team of a startup called Primer, which applied AI and machine learning to natural language processing in order to analyze and summarize hundreds of millions of documents. So I've previously written books on data science and AI, including my book, The Data Science Bootcamp, 5 Python projects, and having done a PhD in machine learning and biomedical informatics, all my life I've been much interested in this interplay of big data, text and image processing, and machine learning powered automation.
Nice, nice. I opened your LinkedIn profile because I love opening LinkedIn profiles, and I see you have extended experience about AI today, your previous experience. And can you tell why you decided to learn more about AI? If I see in 2014, probably before that. So because an year ago when I spoke with marketers with many occupations, most people didn't consider AI. Today, everyone uses AI. Can you tell why you decided to start your career? I mean, like to learn more about AI and many years ago before ChatGPT.
So I was always fascinated by what machine learning could and could not do and how to leverage that boundary. So when I started my career, I was a biologist doing software engineering. And as a graduate student, my job was to go through millions upon millions of sequences coming from DNA and proteins in order to make into human health. And it quickly became apparent to myself, as it would be to anyone involved in that type of research, that a single human being or a team of human beings would be unable to process and understand all that data by hand. So some level of automation was required. And that's when I first began to seriously to as artificial intelligence, as part of my work, as part of my research. And I found those tools invaluable. But honestly, I am as shocked as anyone else in the industry that something like Chat GPT is possible. I was always
Yeah.
fascinated with the power of automation, but now we have automation coupled with a level of intelligence that, frankly, I couldn't foresee when we spoke a year ago. Even though the techniques that make ChatGPT possible have been around since 2018, and depending on how far you trace back those techniques, even longer.
Yeah, nice. It's interesting, about ChatGPT because I read an article that even founders of ChatGPT have had surprise about popularity, because I used AI before ChatGPT, a bunch of tools, and I didn't find a big difference between them and ChatGPT. So we had these tools, many great tools like Jasper, Copy AI, used data from OpenAI, but ChatGPT became popular so much, and if I remember correctly, like 100 million users started to use this tool in 2 months, more than any other startup in our history. Yeah. What do you think? Why it's popular like this? Because we had such tools before, but today I think everyone, I spoke with accounting, with marketers, with writers, anyone can use this tool. So can you explain this popularity?
Mhm. Yeah. So many differences, in my opinion, between ChatGPT and previous tools. Uh, but one of the differences that I want to emphasize is the flexibility of these tools. For
Mhm.
instance, my previous startup, Primer, we had developed AI tools to summarize and understand documents, to do vast document summaries. And this is something that ChatGPT does as well. Uh, However, the previous AI tools that I had developed were kind of they lacked flexibility. They could only deliver in a specific subset of use cases that they were designed and built for. So our summarization tools, for instance, couldn't. A marketer who leverages very specific AI tools that have been optimized for marketing over the course of uh, half a decade or more, and those tools will still work well, but they're not going to translate marketing material into the language of Shakespeare and turn them into an epic poem. Now, again, is that useful from a marketing perspective? Not really. But fascinating aspects of ChatGPT is that it combines this vast array of flexible possibilities. And my sense is that a lot of users, they were probing and still are probing ChatGPT to actually see how flexible and how quote unquote intelligent it actually is. And they're shocked by the level of flexibility. They're shocked by the variety of responses that they can get out of this algorithm that one would not expect to get, using the tools of yesterday.
Yeah. Once I saw Twitter from Elon
Mhm.
Musk when he tested ChatGPT, and he asked a long question with a lot of details. I read this question a few times to understand what Elon Musk want know. So, and but I see many users submit generic requests, nothing special. That's why they get generic answers,
Yes.
some basics. Can you tell about prompts? How to set up the right prompts to get unique content, to get unique results, not like 100 million other people can do?
Hmm. Yeah, it takes it takes a little bit of nuance, and
Mhm.
this, I mean, there are there are multiple ways of leveraging prompts. I mean, the standard way is to try to get at new information. But what I think is much more fascinating is a is are the stylistic prompts that deliver that information in a way that's kind of more useful, more nuanced. So let me explain what I meant by that. The other day, I was experimenting with ChatGPT and trying to get it to concisely explain uh, complex math theorems, in particular Stokes' theorem, that which is important to understanding the physics of light waves, and also is a very non-trivial bit of math. So I asked ChatGPT to explain Stokes' theorem to me, and it used the complex technical language of a mathematician. And then I asked it to explain the theorem using a language that a high schooler could understand. And it translated it basically tried to explain the theorem using the metaphor of high schoolers riding a roller coaster and wind blowing across that roller coaster, and how that all, how the entirety of the roller coaster captures the wind. So then I asked it to derive the detailed steps necessary to prove out Stokes' theorem while translating all of the mathematical language into the analogy associated with roller coasters so high schooler can understand. And so it replaced technical terms with ideas like the whirliness of wind, and replacing the term line integral with mapping the distance of the roller coaster on the tracks. And what I ultimately got back was not only a technically correct answer to my question, but written in a language that I could understand, or that a high schooler could understand. So I use this example to emphasize a twofold approach to prompting. One approach is to, the first fold approach is to ask, useful, interesting, and insightful questions. And the subsequent approach is stylistic, figuring out a unique style for ChatGPT to deliver its response in, so that not only is it amusing, but depending on your use case, educational. And I think that stylistic usage of something that's, in my opinion, underexplored by the community right now.
Yeah, interesting. Once I read an article that experts in Canada found the way how to treat cancer with AI, even the final stage of cancer. So I mean, like and they found how to do it for 30 days. No, fast.
Yes.
So can you tell how AI can help in health industry, because it's your main focus, and your methods, how you use AI to develop and innovate, probably provide something new in medicine.
Yes. So there's lots of medical data available to us, assuming an organization passes all the security checks, and they can be leveraged in a variety of ways to make new types of interesting insights. One has to be cautious. Medical data is incredibly complex. It's very prone to bias. It's very prone to there are, if you look at medical data pertaining to, let's say, patient histories, the data can be broadly categorized in three ways. Structured data, which is essentially, think of it as a table pertaining to all the vital stats of a patient's, their heartbeat, the chemicals in their blood, their age, and so forth. And then there's unstructured data that is divided into two broad categories. First of all, unstructured text data, all the clinical notes that your doctor writes down when you go to the doctor's office. Although there's pages upon pages of medical jargon written by your physician that tells the narrative of your health history. And then there's imaging data, when you have an X-ray taken, when a patient is at the risk of severe disease, or maybe a patient just broke their arm or so forth. Imaging data really comes into play to diagnoses. I emphasize imaging data in particular because, again, in terms of cancer diagnosis and treatment, imaging data is quite important, quite critical. So previously in the medical field, AI experts have a fairly decent job feeding in the structured data, the lab tests, and so forth to make predictions. The unstructured data remained difficult. It remained a challenge. Even though machine learning could perform well in images for some time now, want to emphasize that images like X-rays and CAT scans are three-dimensional. Rather than just taking a photograph of your lungs, they take a photograph of every single layer and subslice and substrata of lungs. And 3D images are much more difficult to use. Unstructured clinical notes are very technical. They use lots of jargon that requires specialized training in medical school to be able to understand and decipher and parse through. One of the fascinating developments regarding the work coming out of OpenAI is that with enough examples, the ChatGPT models can easily learn to understand the expert language of a physician and also translate it into terms that a layman or woman can understand. More importantly, unlike individual specialists in medicine who maybe can understand their own specialty like dermatology, but might not understand or might be comfortable with the special knowledge of a neurologist. The AI models can easily go between specialties and translate from the language of one to the other. The other bit I want to emphasize, and this is critical, is that while there's been a lot of focus on the work of ChatGPT and its ability to analyze, parse, and understand or make intelligent inferences regarding text, there's also been amazing progress regarding analysis of images coming from OpenAI. And if you look at outdated models like Clipper, where OpenAI is actually able to find alignments between text and images and essentially treat text together with images like they're two sides of the same coin. These machine learning models basically represent a holistic approach, allow for a holistic approach where heterogeneous data composed of text, images, and structured tables can be thrown into the model together, and using human-powered parsing and essentially interrogation of the models by medical specialists, we can subsequently obtain insights and predictions to, for instance, describing the sorts of circumstances where a patient really needs to go to the doctor because they have an above average likelihood of maybe being in the early stages of a treatable cancer. Like, we can do that now, and we couldn't take this holistic approach before.
Yeah, nice. You mentioned many times data. I usually track how many times you can say some words, but I lost my track. And can you tell about setting the right data? Because many experts complain that ChatGPT can provide the wrong data, can mislead, and it's important to give the right data before getting results, because AI is not perfect, and I don't know it will be in some time or not, but today it's not. It can mislead many times. So can you tell how to collect the right data and feed AI with this data?
Yeah. So again, that's the really great point, and it's important to emphasize that the AI can mislead in a multitude of ways that are very nuanced. Now, the reason AI misleads is that it displays. Let me explain what I mean by that. It's going to yield essentially the simplest solution to a data-driven problem presented to it. Like, for instance, going back to the healthcare space, a few years ago, some doctors try to put together a model to predict whether a patient had pneumonia or not using images of chest x-rays. And the AI model was able to predict pneumonia for the two tested hospital systems to a surprisingly accurate degree. But the moment they moved to a third hospital, the model flubbed out. So what happened? Well, it turns out that the two hospital systems from which the data came had their X-ray machine set to slightly different settings. So by studying the grayness of the image and the differences in the gray scale, the machine could figure out from which hospital the x-rays came from. And now one of the hospitals treated pneumonia patients much more frequently. So essentially, the model lazily learned to use the image to predict the likelihood that a hospital was associated with pneumonia. But again, this was not the intent of the ultimately the intent of the users. This is just one subtle examples of how how data can bias. And what do we do about this? And I mean, the truth of the matter is there's not much we can do to get rid of these biases at this point, beyond having human beings review the data presented to the machine in a way that is mistrustful. We should think of, I mean, the AI is a helper of ours, but it's also an adversary. Think of AI as a lazy employee working for you that will get the job done, but they will take every shortcut necessary to do it. So you, as the boss, your role is to figure out ways that the AI will try to cheat given the data presented to it, and be preemptive about it. Now, having said that, it's quite feasible that, after a few years of systematically monitoring biases in data using human input, maybe we'll train an AI to aid those people and to figure out those biases. So we'll have the AI monitoring the AI, but who monitors that AI? Who watches the watchman? It's an unsolved problem at this moment.
Yeah, nice, nice. Yeah, sometimes I ask ChatGPT, please help me to find the right prompts to ask ChatGPT. So yeah, if AI can monitor AI, why not?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Once Bill Gates said, he got the question about what to learn today, and that was a few years ago. And he told AI, learn AI because it's the future. I think I can feel that it's not future, it's present. We can use it today. Future will be different. Of course, it's only the beginning of this AI journey. Can you tell for someone who started from scratch, because you have this extended experience, what will you do today to learn more about AI?
I guess I would focus on the unknown unknowns. What don't we understand? Now, to be clear, we, as AI experts, have a very intricate understanding of the models under the hood of machines such as ChatGPT. And in all honesty, the algorithms are not that complicated, which makes it even that such complex patterns of artificial thought can be produced by these machines. And frankly, we don't know why that is the case. I'm sure even Sam Altman, CEO of OpenAI, is shocked by some of these results. And again, the appropriate analogy to use is that of a neurologist, understands how the working of individual neurons within the brain, and can understand how brain is made up of subsystems of neurons, but cannot fathom where human consciousness comes from. So the next broad area of research, and one that I'm also actively engaged in, is basically trying to reverse engineer and better understand ways that this complexity arises from such relatively simple simple systems. Now, the other big area to focus on, for the next couple of years, is actually less about the algorithms and more about infrastructure, AI engineering. Yes, ChatGPT 4 in particular is incredibly powerful, and it's also huge. It cannot fit on a single machine, much less secure. These systems are highly limited in that they're vastly dependent on complex bits of infrastructure, and if you want to run them at scale and you want to run them quickly, well, the problems become intractable. Why is that important? Well, right now, a system like ChatGPT can understand human language, and based on what we've seen regarding recent demos from OpenAI, it can also understand images quite well. So if you show it an image, it will explain to you in human language why that image is funny, and I'll even be right, some percent of the time. So essentially, it can understand images. It can understand the 3D space, 3D world. It has the capacity to interact with the world, but imagine that a robot can walk and commands, bring, fetch a newspaper, fetch the newspaper. Well, we're not there yet, not because of the AI, but because there's no way to actually put that infrastructure inside the robot. And the latency of having like a Wi-Fi API go from the robot sensors to the OpenAI servers, well, it's not there yet. So there's going to be a major effort. It will take $1 billion effort over the course of the next few years to figure out how to make these systems faster, more nimble, how to be able to fit them onto cheaper computers, cheaper machines, and eventually, maybe a decade down the line, we'll figure out how to cheaply fit them onto robots. And then we're going to enter Isaac Asimov territory. But until then, there's a lot of things to be done.
Yeah. You remind me Elon Musk, because he criticized AI technology, he criticized ChatGPT, and even he signed this letter, to stop the process, to research, to investigate. And after that, he invested a lot of money to equipment to create something alternative, So he can't ignore this trend. I'm interested about mistakes. For example, in my life, I made a lot of mistakes. I keep doing them, but I learn from mistakes. I don't know another way how to learn something new. We start from best practices, then adapt and find our way. So can you tell common mistakes that people still do by using AI and your tips how to do it better?
Okay. So, well, I want to start, one example regarding mistakes made by people by trusting the mistakes coming from AI and not correcting them. So this is something that happened to myself yesterday. Myself and a colleague of mine, we were actually using ChatGPT. We were giving instructions for ChatGPT to how to write Python code to match bits of text using an approach called regular expressions. It's very simple code to write, but it can be a little bit of a pain. So we just had ChatGPT do it, and ChatGPT wrote us this impressive Python function, and we went and we tested it on something that we had found, for examples. So we actually went back to ChatGPT and we pointed out that, hey, this function is wrong in this one instance, and it apologized, and it explained why it made the mistake, and it gave us the corrected code, and we tested it, and we got the result we wanted. So 2 common mistakes made by people: A, testing the outputs coming from these systems without verifying it, without stress testing those outputs. In those cases where it's fairly easy and straightforward to test, if you don't know whether the algorithm is 100% right, but it's fairly easy to check, you might as well check it. The second mistake is to then not following up and not asking the machines to fix their mistakes. Because they can. They have the machines are like people. They make mistakes, but they can also be corrected. So in the algorithm just made a single stupid mistake is like losing faith in a person. So you can follow, you can still follow up and correct, but then of course you must then make sure that the fix put in by the machine is actually a fix and will work on your examples.
Yeah, agree. I like it, when I can teach AI what
Yeah.
kind of results I wanna
Yeah.
get. So why not? If AI can understand, I can save time. Uh, and I have the final question about future. Can you
Mhm.
forecast what kind of future will be? Because it's only
Mhm.
the beginning of this journey.
Yeah.
So flying cars, space, I don't know anything about the future with AI.
Future. Well, uh, so first of all, I'm gonna preface saying your guess might be as good as mine, because we're reaching a point where things will rapidly spin out in ways that some of us might not be able to foresee. Having said that, what is now possible? So, in the short term, a lot of creative industries are transformed, but not necessarily in negative ways. People that were previously thought of themselves as an individual contributor, an individual writer, an individual coder, uh, they're they now have to think of themselves as managers. They're maybe not doing all the coding themselves, maybe not writing all the marketing material themselves, but they are managing an AI system or a a system of AI systems. Maybe they're using one AI for marketing images, image generation, another AI for text generation, and a third AI for running text to and they have to be very clear what customer expectations are. They have to be very clear regarding providing feedback to these machines to get the appropriate results, because at least in the short term, by short term I mean next 5 years, 3 to 5 years or so, the machines are going to do an adequate job, but they're not going to be great at it. Going back to the lazy employee paradigm. So yes, the creative industries are completely upturned and transformed, but not necessarily in a negative way, if because the people will still be in charge. Now, going out another decade or so, the hardware required to run these systems becomes faster and smaller. And that is where we begin to see a true transformation. So right now, on ChatGPT 4, you need a huge system of servers and very powerful GPUs, each one of which is multiple GPUs, each GPU costing like upwards of $8,000 to $10,000. Well, 10 years from now, the entire AI system can fit on something the size of your smartphone. And again, this is an AI system that can process both text and images very quickly with almost no latency. So now you can start putting this technology into robots. Looking at Boston Dynamics and the robotic dogs they're releasing, we already have, and also robotic humanoids, we already have robots that can carry out certain tasks. So now, again, you have robots walking up and down the street, listening to your instructions. All sorts of safeguards need to be put in, of course, and that leads us to some very bizarre and potentially dangerous territory. But again, if we can put safeguards on people, we can put safeguards on robots. Each robot so only the Elon Musks of the world can like afford their own like robot bodyguards and like robot butlers. But maybe another 20 years out down the line, the technology is much cheaper. You have robot factory workers building more robots, and again, it sounds scary, but the honestly, robots are no more, of my opinion, now that we're out on science fiction territory, that is actually achievable given today's technology. From my standpoint, robots are no more or less scarier than people. As in, people can be nice, people can be not so nice. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
especially people
yes,
in Russia,
exactly.
especially.
Yeah,
Yeah, we have these people.
yes.
Yeah, I think Ukrainian
So,
army will change such people. Yeah,
I'll be
yeah.
back.
So to that, yeah, to that point exactly. It's yeah. And again, we haven't quite figured. Unfortunately, in this world, we haven't figured out how to solve the problem of evil people. But
yeah.
uh,
I think it's history. When
yeah,
I see all the situation, I
yeah,
understand that the U.S. had such
mhm,
issues with
yes,
revolution, with a
mhm,
war. Many other developed countries so had this issue, and yeah, it's evolution.
yeah,
You can't change regime
yeah,
uh, with democracy without fighting.
mhm, yeah,
Yeah, it's
yeah,
history. It's real.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
Leonard, it's a big pleasure to get on my show, to learn from you. You always share a lot of valuable insights. I need to go to an emergency room to consume all this information. So tell our audience the best way how to keep learning from you, how to reach out to you, how to follow you.
Yes. So yes. Feel search for me, Leonard Apeltsin. Reach out to me on either LinkedIn, or feel free to reach out to me on Twitter. I'm at Apeltsin on Twitter. Additionally, if you want to learn more about the very basics of the mathematics required to better understand AI and machine learning, please check out my book, Data Science Bootcamp 5 Real World Python projects. It's intended for an amateur to be able to pick out the basics of math and programming required to begin their journey in the AI and data science space. And yes, please take a look if you want to learn more. I'm sure you'll greatly enjoy it.
Okay, guys, you can find the links in the description below. Listen us on Apple, Google, Spotify. Thanks again for your time. Love it. So valuable, guys. You need to follow Leonard because you can see a lot of value. Love you. See you.